At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
All right, welcome to the Author Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Doug Crow, and you're going to want to take notes. If you didn't take notes or don't have the time, you can just click below and you can download the show notes. And today's guest, you're definitely going to want to download those notes. She's been on a couple years ago and had one of the top rated events of our podcast series. People love her content. She's brilliant with what she does. And coincidentally, she does a lot what we do, but not some things we do here at Author Your Brand. She's an editor. She ghostwrites books, but she gets book deals with literary agents and traditional publishers. Her clients have been featured in Hallmark TV, Daily Mail, Oprah Magazine, Time Magazine, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, bestseller lists, airport bookstores, FedEx, Office Max, you can go on and on and on. So she's the author of her own book, of course, Crappy to Happy. It was actually featured in the movie, Eat, Pray, Love. So without further ado, please welcome to our show, Randy Peyser. Randy, how are you today?
Thank you, Doug. Really happy to be here and to share vital information that people need to know.
Yes, that's right. And we're going to talk about probably some of the crucial mistakes that people make when pitching traditional publishers. So pay attention to that, folks. But before we do, I want to get more of a feeling on your background and how you got into this crazy business anyway. So tell us a bit about your background.
I have the funniest story that when people hear it, they go, what? What? Is she for real? So what I say is I slept my way into the publishing industry. And so what I mean by this is that I fell in love with a magazine publisher back in the early 90s, wound up becoming editor-in-chief of a very large magazine, went on to do a national magazine I was editor-in-chief of, then wrote my first book, Crappy to Happy, pitched it in New York, took me 4 years to find a publisher, but in that process, and this is over 20 years ago, I started making so many connections in the publishing world. So here I am today, close to 25 years later, and pitching countless projects for people to traditional publishers and top literary agents, to the point where a number of my clients have gotten six-figure deals and very large bidding wars. And it's just, this is my fun. I love getting people book deals.
I love it. And a key takeaway from that I got was you spent 4 years getting your first one to go, right? Pitching it.
Well, that's true. But now, because all of my connections for over 20 years, they're all first name basis connections.
Yeah.
So, for example, the last time I was in New York pitching live was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And in 2.5 days, I had 25 meetings, 22 meetings with publishers, 3 with top literary agents, pitching 16 projects. And so these are all real connections. They're first name basis connections with everyone. And even recently, Doug, I was able to place 10 books in 7 months. That is a lot of books.
That is amazing. And another thing I just picked up on was like relationships. So many people I talk to, they just want to pitch their stuff and send things out. Like whether it's for a literary agent or even a client, it's like, who likes to get spam? Nobody likes that. Nobody even reads half the stuff. You have to have those relationships, right? That's
absolutely true. So for example, when I have a top literary agent who says to me, Randy, I hope you know I fast track every project you send me.
Nice.
Why? Because I've sent her projects that have gotten six-figure deals in very big bidding wars. It doesn't mean every project I send her is going to be a six-figure deal. However, she's going to open that email, very quickly. And, another agent told me, Randy, I'm getting 1,000 submissions a month. I'm not even looking at my email. When you have something for me, text me. That's the power of real relationship.
Wow. That is, we could end the show right there and say, that's the lesson, folks. You got to have relationships. Now, obviously, if you don't have, 20 years to build those relationships, or you don't have that in your mix, you've got to hire someone like Randy. If someone wanted to start building those relationships with agents and publishers, whatnot, what would be the strategy you'd recommend nowadays versus back 20 years ago?
Okay, so if somebody wants to build a relationship, I would say go to writing festivals and where you can do speed dating with agents. That would be one way to do it. So, I'd look up, San Francisco writers conference, things like that.
Right.
So there are some speed dating opportunities.
Okay. Is that for nonfiction as well as fiction authors?
Yes, for
Okay.
both.
Okay. So look up conferences, and do they use the word speed dating in those things as well, or
Yes.
yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
speed date with this agent or that agent. I've
Right.
actually participated for many years with in San Francisco for the Women's National Book Association. So I've been one of the people that gets speed dated, you know, and I help people refine their pitches as well.
Right. So I don't put a label on what because you can do so many things from writing and editing and ghostwriting and pitching, and most importantly, I think preparation to get somebody's, whatever they think into the real world here. Are you an agent, a literary agent, or not? Then.
I call myself a book broker. Some people have called me a book shepherd, a book
Yeah.
doula. And let me tell you the difference between what I do and what an agent does. I do
Yes.
not call myself an agent because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a legal beagle. So I'm not the person who does their contract. When I
Yeah.
find somebody a publisher directly, which I do very frequently. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, of the 10 books that I just placed, 7 of them were directly with publishers and 3 went to top literary agents.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I find somebody, a publisher directly, I have a top literary attorney who can do that contract, review it and make the recommendations and things like that.
Right.
So I am a people connector.
Yes, I love that. That brings me to a really good point. As long as we're going to spider out here on these topics, but I keep thinking of the few contracts I've seen. You've probably seen hundreds of different contracts put out by publishers, and they're always asked for a lot, right? I want the first right of refusal. I want international rights. I want your soul. I want everything. Do you and you're not an attorney, but do you also advise people on what they should be looking for at all on the contract side or not?
Not on the legal side, but
Yeah.
I will share a bit of information, and this concerns film rights.
Yeah.
So, for example, one of my authors for a book we worked on, she's in talks with one of the national TV networks because they want to do a national special based on her book.
Okay.
And so for that particular project, the lawyer actually insisted that she keep her film rights. And it's a good thing she did because now she's in talks with a national mainstream TV network.
Wow. So when
Yes, but
she
every
did her
publisher every
so when she did her
publisher will
book
ask
deal with
for
the publisher, she took out the film right clause. Said no, you don't
right,
get that. You just get the book rights. Right? She did that. Did
right.
she have? Did she didn't know she was going to be getting a quoted by the network though,
Oh
right?
God,
It was
no. But obviously, the lawyer was on top of that and said, no, you don't give away your film rights.
nice. Wow.
Yeah.
So that comes true. That could be a pretty good savings for her because had she not done that, she would have basically sold those rights to the publisher,
Yes. I mean,
and then
every
they could
contract will have a first right of refusal in it. That
right,
doesn't mean you have to go with that publisher, but they get the first look-see at it.
right,
And if they've done really well for you, why wouldn't you go with them? I mean, that's
right.
another whole other point.
Yeah, true. Okay, so what are some of the let's get right into it. What are some of the critical mistakes that people make
Okay.
when
Oh my
pitching a
God.
publisher?
I got in an email today and you have to remember, I've been doing this for close to 25 years. So I have
Right.
25 years of direct feedback that
Mm-hmm.
I've accumulated all this time. So I got an email this morning from a woman who said, I heard that. And so when somebody says, I heard that, and they heard it from someone somewhere, and I'm going, oh my God, please don't do this. And so what she wants to do is send a query letter to an agent and say, hey, are you interested? What do you think? And basically that's going out of sequence. And so the biggest mistake that I see people making is to do things out of the proper or correct sequence. And
Okay.
so I want to share the sequence that I recommend because so many
Yeah.
people don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part is, okay, let's say, you've written the book. The next thing that should happen with that book is analysis
Mm-hmm.
so that it's read. So like, for example, like we'll use the comments bar in Word and we're going to point out everything we're seeing that needs to be strengthened. And in that analysis round, we're also discerning, is this a book that we think an agent or publisher will be interested in?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to send something out if the positioning isn't exactly right.
Wow. Yeah.
Because people, the agents and publishers, they're going to make their buying decisions based both on content and on the business side of publishing. They're two
Mm-hmm.
separate issues. So yes, your content has to be that you're bringing something new to a conversation that's already happening and that people are interested in. That's the content side. So I've had, for example, people who come to me and say they're going
Mm-hmm.
to buy my book just based on content. And let me tell you, no, they won't. They won't. I don't care. You can have the best content in the universe. They're not going to buy the book
Yep.
just based on content. So, what is
Mm-hmm.
missing? And this is the other part that people go out of sequence with, the business side of publishing. And the
Right.
business side of publishing means after your book goes to an acquisition editor who brings it to their editorial team and they say, we love your content more than these other books that we're considering for the same publishing period. Now your book is going to the bean counters because books go through committees. And so
Yeah.
the bean counters, this is the business side of publishing. You have to show that you have enough beans and to make that pot of coffee. And what that means, if we translate that, is they're looking at the amount of engagement you have with your audience and your social media numbers, your
Mm-hmm.
visibility. And it's so critical. So, for example, for a business book, Wiley rejected a book that I was pitching recently. I sold it elsewhere, but the author had 7,000 contacts on LinkedIn. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be strong in social media wherever your demographic is for your book. If you have a business book, you better have 10,000 minimally on LinkedIn. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't waste your time sending a manuscript around, wishing, hoping, and praying, because it's not going to happen.
Right.
So that's for, a business book, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I don't do LinkedIn, I don't, I'm not a promotions person. My lane is get people the book deal.
Right.
But I have, LinkedIn people or other people, depending
Mm-hmm.
on where their demographic is, who I can refer people to and say, build your numbers, build your numbers. Then I can sell the book, most likely.
Yeah.
So that's a critical mistake, not handling the business side of publishing. The
Mm-hmm.
more visible you are, the better. So, for example, for nonfiction, a book proposal is required. If you're just sending in your manuscript, forget it.
Yeah.
So, query letter, and here's a mistake people make in the query letter. They
Yeah.
talk about this is my content, all my great, wonderful content. This is my credentials, why I'm an expert in this field. And then they leave out a critical part, and people leave out this part all the time, which is for the bean counters, your numbers. Put your numbers in your query letter. If you have something really, really strong, you have somebody who's a New York Times bestselling author who's doing your forward, or somebody of note, you have strong endorsements.
Yeah.
Include that information in your query. What you want
Mm-hmm.
to do is you want to get the publisher or agent's eyebrows to go up to the roof of their hairline because they're so excited about your project. We want those
Yeah.
eyes like wide open, like, oh my God. And I'll share with you. May I share with you?
Yeah.
One of the ways I pitched a project in New York, this is some years ago, and I would do like, I have my proprietary ways of pitching. I'll just share with you. One of the things that I do when I'm pitching live is that I have these incredible pitch sheets that I
Mm-hmm.
create. So when I'm pitching live, I can get the exact information very, very quickly. I call these promo sheets in front of an
Mm-hmm.
agent or publisher. So I'm sitting with an agent, and she said, top agent, she's done six-figure deals for my clients. And she said, Randy, what have you got for me this year? And I took the pitch sheet for that particular project and I went like this. I smell money.
I love it. That's awesome.
3-word pitch did result in a six-figure deal because there was the right components were in that particular project to
Mm-hmm.
warrant. It was a six-figure deal for a book called Pivot by Adam Markell, and Simon and Schuster took the book.
Yep.
So, so it's just like you just have to have the right connections and the right
Yeah.
pitch. And in that
Right
case,
pitch. I smell
I
money.
sold that book with my nose.
I love it. So, in addition to having a database of people that actually followers and some public visibility, right? Which like LinkedIn, 10,000 minimum to get you started. What other things should they have in place to make themselves more attractive to a publisher?
So definitely the book proposal. that's key to the sale. I consider
Yeah.
myself a master of the book proposal. I've written proposals that have gotten those six-figure deals. And
Yeah.
I've had people come to me who have spent a gazillion dollars having someone write a book proposal for them, and I would still ramp it up
Yeah.
because I just have my own secret sauce. That's really
Hmm.
in my genius. My genius is really the book proposal and get that book sold.
Yeah.
That's really me working in my genius.
Hmm.
So those are the pieces of the puzzle that I
That's the piece, but the
absolutely love.
foundation is your network, the people that know you. I think
Yes,
that's going to be a huge piece of it, right?
yes, 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 yes. And
Yeah.
I did a nonfiction book called Structural Integration and Energy Medicine. I didn't even know what those terms meant, but I got that book sold to a publisher,
Hmm.
and it concerns a particular concerns Ida Rolf, who was like a who does some kind of body work stuff. She has since passed, and so I saw something on Facebook just yesterday about this movie that's being made about this woman Ida Rolf, and the book
Ah,
that I sold is related to Ida Rolf. So I immediately was able to put the producer in touch with the author, Jean Louise Green, of this incredible book, and
yeah.
just like, keeping my fingers crossed that, something that can develop there, because you never know with a book that comes out through a traditional publisher, what good can happen. So, for
Hmm.
example, Crappy to Happy, my first book that winds up with Julia Roberts holding it up in a bookstore scene, I couldn't have predicted that. My
Yeah.
authors who have wound up in, Cosmo and Time Magazine and, Hallmark TV, they couldn't have predicted it.
Yep.
I love watching the magic. Unquote. I
Uh-huh.
just love that.
I love it too. That's outstanding. So we talk about nonfiction business books, of course, but the other
Yes.
genres, I don't know much about that. I'm not sure if you ever work with books in the biography or fiction space
So
at
yeah,
all.
let me share with you, if
Yeah.
I may. Of the 10 books I sold recently, or placed, I should say,
Hmm.
7 with publishers, 3 with agents.
Hmm.
4 were business books. 1 was a mind, body, spirit book. 1 was a self-help book. 1 was a memoir. 1 was a whistleblower book, and 2 were novels. So
Okay.
there's, it's a big range. And I will only pitch something if the project is stellar and I really think it's sellable and I have the right connections for it.
Hmm. I love that. I don't know. Yeah, people contact us about the other genres, the fiction stuff, and I don't know what the parameters are there. Is it same? They also need a large following and stuff, or
It
what's the?
helps. It
Yeah.
definitely helps. I'm always looking, I say, to tip the sale in your favor.
Yeah.
And yeah, the agents will still ask me right after I've, shared a synopsis. The next question out of their mouth is, tell me about his or her platform.
Yeah.
Platform means publicity, means eyeballs. It's always
Right.
mattered. And of
Right.
course, if you have low or no social media, and I have a book of equal merit, and the person has 10,000 or 20,000, whatever, or they're visible, you're out speaking, whatever your visibility is, it
Yeah.
matters. I was sitting
Yeah.
with Angelina Jolie's literary agent. I was pitching a project to him. This is pre-COVID in New York. We're sitting at a Starbucks table at the Javits Center, the conference center. I'm sitting there pitching, and I see him take out his phone. And in my mind, and he starts looking at his phone, and in my mind, I'm busy judging him. And I'm thinking, God, that's rude. It turns out
Rude.
he was looking at my author on YouTube and said, oh no, engagement's too small. Who else do you have? And I hear that over and over
Boom.
and over again. He's not the only one to say that. So the larger your numbers, and if you don't have them now, build them or delegate someone to build them for you.
Yeah.
And don't just buy followers. These need to be,
Yeah.
be ethical in this process.
Well, that person didn't say followers. He said engagement,
Yes, that's true. Well, which
right?
also equals, numbers of followers as well. It just
Yeah,
does.
it's important. But yeah, you're spot on about
Yes,
that. Anytime you buy likes and shares and stuff, that's always crap. And people are
right,
smart about that nowadays. When they see a bunch of comments or copy and paste, it's like it's not real. It's you got to have real
right,
people on these things.
right. And
Yeah.
I'll share with you, here's a technique that one of my fiction authors did who didn't have a book out, but I found a publisher wanting to buy it within 3 days of me pitching it, which is outrageous.
Nice.
So I have an author, we had worked on the editorial side, and my editor for fiction books is a former publisher from Simon
Mm,
and Schuster. I mean,
okay.
he's the guy. When he gives the thumbs up on a project and I pitch it, it's under contract. I'm just going to say
Yep.
it just is, because he's the guy who bought the books. So that's, he's my fiction guy.
Yeah.
So one of the things that my author, Tony Roth, did, Now, this is a manuscript that's a Word document on his laptop. It's not printed, it's not out. He's in the process of doing a trilogy, a thriller trilogy. So we had helped him with the first book. And he started a podcast just to talk about his trilogy. And he had 20,000 downloads in 2 weeks. I'm like, Tony, how'd you
Done.
do this?
Sold.
And he said, well, I worked with a marketing guy who helped me do Facebook ads. So find the lane. This is what I recommend to people. Find the lane that you're comfortable with. So, for example, if you're a talker, start doing podcasts or build up a subscriber base on YouTube, wherever your demographic, your audience is, and where your comfort level is. That's where you need to be. Because if you're not comfortable doing it, you're not going to do it.
That's very true. Very true. This is amazing. What's the difference or effectiveness of having your book completely done or just started where you work on that proposal? Because you're sending a query letter or proposal, you're not giving them the whole book, right?
I will never do that. So this brings up another mistake that I see people make. So people say, well, I've heard that all I need to do is the book proposal and, a couple sample chapters.
Yeah.
And this is my response to that. Good luck with that. If you don't have a track record of sales, you don't have the leverage. You just don't. And you are entering a veritable sea of thousands of manuscripts that are being considered. And if you don't yet have the leverage, you're really not known to publishers, I say good luck with that. So when I submit something, we have analyzed it, we have edited it. I've either written the proposal from scratch or polished it. And then I'm getting the author's approval. This is my package I'm going to send out. Then I send it. And then I forward all correspondence to my authors.
Yeah.
Any agents or publishers I'm connecting them with, they are completely in the loop. That's the way to do it in right sequence.
Right.
And I would never pitch something unless the numbers are strong enough.
Yeah.
Because that's why I was able to sell 10 books in 7 months. That's the numbers.
It's best to have your book done.
The content is right.
Yeah.
What's that?
Best to have your book done, and then you can actually make it better for them before they do the proposal, right?
Yes. So it used to be, proposal and a couple sample chapters, like a couple sample chapters from the front, one from much later on in the book. But I was speaking with an agent back in January of 2020. So we're in COVID times at that time.
Right.
And she said, it used to be that she could sell books like that. Now publishers want to see 50% of the book, at least.
Wow.
And I'm saying, if you're a new author and I want to tip the sale in your favor, let's have everything ready to go. Because another thing that happens is sometimes a book that is scheduled by a publisher to be in their next quarter, it falls out for whatever reason. The author didn't fulfill, they didn't get it done in time, whatever. And my author's books have been able to get slotted in faster if they're ready to go. And so here's another mistake that people say. Why do I need to have my book edited? Don't publishers have editors? Aren't they going to do that? And I'm going to say, good luck with that. And here's the reason why. The competition. So many books coming in, they are perfected. They're ready to go. Yes, their editors will glance at it and maybe they'll make a few changes here and there. But that book had better be in top shape. Yeah.
Yeah, you're always in competition with somebody with more experience and money. You better do a good job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's another mistake. May I share another mistake? Do we have time?
Listen, we can stay on for hours. We don't have time for that, but I want to hear it. So keep going. We'll keep going. Maybe we have to do it. Cut
another
2 episodes
mistake
as well.
Is if you're a first-time author, don't put that manuscript up on Amazon if you want a traditional publisher. Or don't put anything up on Amazon, because as soon as you do, you have a track record of sales. I was on a Zoom call one time with a publisher and I'm pitching something and she knew that the author had previous books out. And so she was on a side desktop computer, looked up the author on Amazon, and in less than 2 seconds had their sales numbers. It said, oh no, sales numbers were too small. Yeah. So your sales numbers, if they're going to be low, if they're in the hundreds or even in the low thousands of books for the first year, they're not going to pick up that book or your next book.
Yeah, they've got too much to invest in that, right?
Yeah, it's so much easier for me to sell a book for someone who has no track record of sales. And if you do have a track record of low sales, we have to overcome that. And one of the ways to overcome that is to do something like a GoFundMe. We have to we have to prove sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so to do a GoFundMe to show there's a whole lot of people waiting for that book, that would be helpful.
Right. Okay. So if you have weak numbers, it's your second or third book, you got to do something to
Yes.
reinvigorate that profile and your track record.
Yes,
That makes
absolutely.
sense.
Otherwise, I just can't sell the book because publishers will see you as a bad investment.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a good point. I just saw this morning that Amazon is now limiting, believe it or not, you probably read this too, is you can't upload more than 3 books a day if you're an author. Trying to scale back all this AI rigmarole out there. So I'd like to hear your perspective on the AI writing that you and I both seen.
Yeah, I'm not big on it. I'm just really not, because you can call me old school or whatever, and also because I love books that are written by human beings.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are plenty of people who are using AI. It's not what I do or my company. It's not what we do.
Right.
Um,
And what they commented on this article is that people, even the reviews were horrible on this book that triggered the whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, no one likes to talk to a bot on the phone. Why would they want to read a book by a robot? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm with you on this.
Yes.
I know some people, if it's augmented, you can use it to help. We use it to help spin titles and stuff to get us the thoughts going, but it's not
Yes.
very good at telling stories, and it has no emotion. It's just, plopping words together, so, yeah.
Yep. The heart and soul of the book. Where is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're assigning the heart and soul of a book to a bot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we could go on and on about a lot of topics, Randy. I want to have you back again at least every quarter. I just love talking to you. You've got so much wisdom on this. And before we go, I want to talk about what traditional publishers do nowadays, because obviously you have to have your own platform to even get their attention. But once the
Yes.
books, they agree to a deal, what do they do besides print it? Are they distributing it to airports or bookstores? And if so, how long? Tell us about that process.
Yes. And so I was in a conversation recently with a man I've known for about 15 years, but I
Yeah.
didn't know exactly what he did. His name is Michael Drew, and he
Oh, we
does
know
the New
Michael.
York
Yeah.
Times. So he does the New York Times bestseller programs. And he
Yeah.
told me information that me, with my 25 years of experience, did not know. So what I did not know is that Barnes and Noble rates books. Every
Mm-hmm.
book that they agree to take on, they give them an A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever rating.
Mm-hmm.
And the A listed books are the ones you're going to see on the tables when you enter a Barnes and
Yeah.
Noble.
Right.
Those are the ones that are going to stay on the shelves the longest. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing that I did not know is that a publisher pays a co-op fee per book. That means they're virtually renting space on a
Uh-huh.
bookshelf for every single book. So they're covering those costs as part of their national distribution. I mean,
Right.
my first time authors who have gotten into, airport bookstores and all of these very, very high level placements have either come directly as a result of the publisher's publicity team, or the authors hiring their own, publicists.
Yeah.
Typically, the publishers are going to pick up the costs of the printing.
Mm-hmm.
They have sales reps for foreign rights, and there's a lot of money that can be made in foreign rights. So
Yep.
that's one of the things they do. They handle bulk sales, like my authors who have been sold like 3,000 stores nationally for FedEx Office or for Office Max nationally, things like that. The bulk
Yep.
sales have happened as a result, from publishers. They will send the book out to Publishers Weekly and all kinds of review places.
Nice.
So they're going to generate publicity typically 3 months before and 3 to
Mhm.
6 months after that book comes out. That's their biggest push time.
Yeah.
And
And
so
go ahead.
I like self-publishing and I like traditional publishing for different
Yep.
reasons. And I've done both with different books I've written.
Mm-hmm.
So Crappy to Happy winds up in a movie.
Yeah.
I sold 7,500 copies through traditional publisher. That was, the extent of its entire print run.
Yep.
So I couldn't have gotten all those, 7,500, copies, whatever, sold on my own,
Yeah.
at that time. Maybe I could now. I don't know.
Yeah.
My second book, The Power of Miracle Thinking, got pitched to 60. I had an agent on it, pitched it to 60 publishers, and they said, no, the miracle thing's been done. And I'm thinking, really? Okay. So I self-published it. So with Crappy to Happy, I made $1 per book.
Mm-hmm.
With the Power of Miracle Thinking selling for $20, I make about $15 per book. So I tell people, if you want to make more money per book, for most people, self-publish.
Yeah.
If you want to get a book out quickly, self-publish.
Yeah.
If you want to have control over every single word, your cover design, absolutely everything about it, self-publish.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using your book for your career, I encourage people to go through a traditional publisher just because of the amount of media and publicity they can get, and placement in places like airport bookstores and some of the high level, like Oprah Magazine and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it's going to take longer. It'll take longer.
It'll take longer. I love that summation that you're not, one or the other. It depends on what you want. There's a definite path for that. I love that.
Right, and I'm never attached. I don't push anybody in any direction. I want what is highest and best for the author based on what they want. That's it.
Right. I love that, Randy. Thank you so much. How can people get a hold of you?
AuthorOneStop.com. And the one is spelled out ONE. AuthorOneStop.com is the easiest way.
Great way to great domain. And man, I'm so grateful to have you on the show again today, Randy. You're a wealth of information and experience. And please come back as often as you like, because there's always something I learn every time we talk.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, folks. Have a great day. Don't forget to like, share, comment, download, and get those show notes. Randy gave some great intelligence today. There's show notes and a summary you can get. All you do is click below and download that. And if you're looking to get someone to help you, she's one of the best. AuthorOneStop.com is her place. Randy, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.